Susie.
Hey!
Still kind of sounding a little truck drivery.
Yeah, I like it though. But I do feel bad that you're sick.
Yeah, it's like one of those that won't go away.
I know. Just like the Brain Candy podcast, which is now on episode
that's right.
302. We won't go away. Forget
302.
it. 302.
It's what we're gonna do. That's right.
How are you?
I rhymed.
You
I'm
had your
doing
birthday.
Well. It was lovely.
Do you feel wiser?
I do. You know what? I wouldn't even say wiser. I'll say I feel calmer.
Oh my gosh. How did that happen?
I feel more at, even like right before my birthday, I was having, I had a really bad panic attack a couple nights before my birthday, thinking about all the stuff that I have to do in the next few months.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And it's not even like, there is a bunch of stuff, but there are these really, really important events to me where, I'm like a keynote speaker in front of these, very important audience. And I like panicked thinking like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is too much. And I had to like remind myself, you are the expert in this. This is your field. This is your jam. You've been doing this for 10 years. You know exactly what you're doing. I had to like be my own, like, I don't know, Tony Robbins, I guess. Hype person. Yeah. And kind of like psych myself up. But I don't feel like that now. After my birthday, I don't know what it is. I just feel like this sense of like, you're fine. You can do it. And things, just try to, I feel like when I'm more mindful that I don't feel overwhelmed by the future as much. What can I do right now in this place?
Do you suffer from imposter syndrome?
Oh, like when you... Remind me what that is again, because I think the answer is yes, but I need to hear the details.
Kind of like where you feel like you don't deserve to be where you are, usually professionally, and you think people are going to find out that you're not deserving or legitimate.
No, I don't as much, because I really feel like maybe for a second I do, but I know when I remind myself, I know that I have put in all the work. And I don't feel like an imposter. It almost feels like the expectations that I set for myself are so high, and I almost doubt myself. I think it's the opposite, where I feel like for a second I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I think I'm going to just forget all the stuff that I know, or all of a sudden be a bad presenter. And I have to just say, kind of do one of those like, it's like a confidence thing. And then once I kind of, go through my mind of challenging those irrational thoughts, then they kind of go away. But you have to challenge them. Yeah. Because it could be like a snowball if that starts, kind of what the panic attack was. It just kind of started snowballing, and my own thoughts were like, well, then you have this, and then you have this, and what if you don't have time? And then da-da-da-da. And then, I had to ask Landon. I was like, Landon, can you please give me a reality check right now? I think partners and friends and all that stuff are really great for that. I'll be like, Landon, I need a reality check. And he just kind of puts my mind at ease.
Aw, that's their job, right?
That is. He's so good at it.
All right, let's see. Is anyone mad at us about anything? Let me think. They're probably still mad that I don't like bangs.
Oh, I have a real controversial subject that I feel like people are going to get mad at me for.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Yes, but I feel like we should talk about this because I think there's something to this. And I've been discussing this with some friends of mine who have daughters, and they agree with this. I want to talk about Girl Scout cookies.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
So,
what about them?
Well, how do I even open up this? So I just asked, my friend who has two daughters that are in Girl Scouts. I said, what's your feeling on this Girl Scout cookie thing? And she's like, I am sick of it. I'm so over it. We have to do all the work. And I hate that my daughters are basically becoming like multi-level marketing, pawns.
Okay.
And how kind of messed up the whole sale of Girl Scout cookies is. And
why?
It
What's
puts
your
so
argument
much
here?
Pressure on. Okay. I just feel like the idea that we're going to send out these little girls to go door to door to sell in neighborhoods to win prizes that are essentially like the prizes you get at Chuck E. Cheese, where you have to sell like 2,000 boxes to get, or whatever. One of them is like two. I even have all the list of
But the point of it isn't to get the prize.
But that's not what the little girls think.
Yeah.
It becomes really I think it affects socioeconomic classes differently. It really affects small towns where I was reading this whole article on Thrillist where they had these moms who wouldn't even say their names because they didn't want to be identified. It was very difficult to find articles about Girl Scout cookies. It almost feels like nobody wants to talk about it because nobody wants to ruffle any feathers or something. But they were saying that in smaller towns where they don't have as many people to sell to, it creates this turf wars that goes on. And it pins these groups against each other. A lot of times they go to school together, and it sometimes turns these friends against each other. And then you're competing. The real sad thing is the entire troop has to work together to sell however much boxes of Girl Scout cookies the troop buys. So they spend their troop money, they buy all the cookies, they have them, and then they're responsible to sell them. And if one girl in that troop doesn't sell her share for whatever reason, there could be a million reasons, it almost is like, could you imagine what that would do to the group dynamic when they're like, you're the reason we didn't win, or you're the reason we didn't sell these? And just having kids, I don't know, it just makes me feel kind of weird, and I wanted to hear what your thoughts were. Now, I've never been a Girl Scout, but the people I've talked to about this are like, oh my God, it's the parents who do all the work, and
Yeah, I can see why it would be frustrating for the parents, and I understand also that turf war idea, but just sort of a counterpoint. I guess it depends on where you stand about the Girl Scouts in general, because technically the cookie sales are designed to fund the organization. And if you love the Girl Scouts organization and what they do for young women, then you might be more inclined to support the practice. And people really like eating them. So it's not like some of the other fundraisers where you're like, oh, I got to buy this stuff I don't even want. And I remember when I was a kid, I had to do a lot of fundraisers because we were poor, but like anytime there would be a school thing, I would have to sell candy bars, and I would go door to door, and I hated it, but I do think it teaches the hard work and leadership and confidence, like talking to adults. So it's not all bad, but if you don't like the Girl Scouts, then I could see why you really wouldn't like the fact that they have to raise money for the organization. Is that your position?
It's just a tough one. I just feel like there are so many that the kids go from having to do these fundraisers at school to selling stuff for Girl Scouts.
Fundraiser fatigue is a thing.
Yes, that's it. It's like, why are we having our kids sell so much stuff? And it just feels like we need to be, I don't know. It just feels weird. And I looked it up, and only 84 cents from every box goes to the troop.
And the rest goes to making the cookies?
Making the cookies, or I don't know what else. It doesn't have the breakdown.
The national organization in general.
Yeah. And, this is like just my opinion on this. And,
sure.
and I know that people are going to be like, well, it does this for them, and they go to these schools and it teaches all this good stuff. But, there was a story on here about, in that Thrillist article, about how Chris Rock's daughter, she was in a Girl Scout troop, and she was able to sell a whole bunch and got a karaoke machine or something like that. And other people kind of get screwed and they get nothing. So, because they don't have the ability to sell all that. And there's supposed to be all these rules, like adults can't sell to Like, you're not supposed to sell to people at your work or all this stuff, but nobody follows any of those rules.
No, well, I'm glad they don't, because I will buy them. I love those things.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to sell them online or on the internet, or you're not supposed to accept money via Venmo. There are all these things that are rules about it that seem like, I don't know.
One thing that you can buy on the internet, and you should, is Warby Parker glasses.
Oh, I love mine. Oh, my God, they're the best. I love them so much.
They are the best. I'm so excited to be talking about them because I've always wanted them.
Same.
And I didn't even know that you could, like, the way that it's set up is you can order 5 different pairs of frames, and then they send them to you, and you can try them on and keep them for 5 days and pick which ones you like best. And then you send them back, and you can buy one or not. And it's just like a great system because you can do everything from home, but you still get to try on different ones. How did it go when you were trying them on?
While you, like, where a lot of places are like, oh, we're going to take $75 from your credit card as you try these on. No, they don't do that.
Yeah, they don't do that.
They're like, here you go, try them on. If you don't like them, no worries.
Well, and I didn't even have to do anything with my prescription. Like, they just called the place that my eye doctor and got it. It was no problem. And
I did the updated one where I did the eye test through their website.
No.
Yes.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yes, they check to make sure. So if you have you upload your prescription, and then they do an eye test to make sure that it's kind of still matching, and it's, pretty basic, but it's really cool. They have you put up your phone and you step back 11 feet, and it's really like you use your computer and your phone and a bunch of science and, technology, and they're like, here, this is your prescription is correct, and it's great.
Well, and the glasses start at $95, and I think that is so great that you can get these
like $95 for everything. None of that like frames, lenses, BS.
Right. It's a really good deal. And if you go to warbyparker.com/braincandy, you can do that free home try on today. And again, the glasses start at $95, including prescription lenses. Lenses include anti-glare and anti-scratch coating. And then for every pair you buy, a pair is distributed to someone in need. I just think that they have an iTunes app as well. And the site is super easy to navigate and all that. It's just a great system. warbyparker.com/braincandy. And Sarah and I both got new glasses. We'll have to post some pictures of them.
Yes, I'm going to do the before and after of what my old glasses look like on me that I got when I was 17, because it's so funny, and what my new glasses look like. And it was real fun. I was at the clinic the other day after I got them, and one of our supervisors and my professor came in, and she looked at me and she's like, man, you are so lucky. And I was like, why? She's like, you really can look totally different for different clients. She's like, you put on glasses and all of a sudden you're like
it's
you
true.
have that
have
traditional
like that
therapist look. Or I just roll up my sleeves and I'm covered in tattoos and I can cater to a different crowd.
Yeah, you're like Clark Kent.
And she's like, those glasses. I'm like, yeah, that's all everybody needs. Just that's my recommendation. If you are in the therapy field, get yourself some Warby Parker glasses. It will really take your therapy game up a notch.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I know you're a dog person, so do you think that cats are psychopaths?
Oh, kinda. I had one once, and I had a few. I had a whole bunch of cats. When I was little, I went through this phase where I named all of my cats Sam, and they all died.
What?
Yeah. So, we lived in a neighborhood growing up where we backed up to the Santa Monica Mountains, and there were tons of coyotes. And if I had an outdoor cat, they were going to get eaten. And I lost 3 cats to coyotes, or ran/disappeared. And then one cat, and every time I lost one, I would just name the next one Sam. I was like, no, we need another Sam. We need another Sam.
Sarah, I feel like that is psychopathic.
Yeah, kind of. But that is not even the saddest part of the story. So then I get this last cat named Sam, and at our house, and I get a knock on the door, and it's the next door neighbors who have my cat in a box. And the cat was dead because the cat was walking along the fence, and their dog, big, huge, I can't remember what kind of dog it was, but took his hand and pawed the cat and freaking bent the cat in half.
What?
Snapped its spine. I don't even know how the dog did it, but he took his,
Sarah.
Yeah, this cat was like in not a cat, and they brought it over in the box. I'm like, that was so traumatic. I just had to share that story.
This is a terrible story.
I've never talked about that on here. It was really traumatic for me. So
was
that's
it
my
really?
cat story. Yeah,
I feel like
I saw my dead cat, and I was like,
psychopath.
why the hell would they bring it over here?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Your neighbor is also a psychopath.
Yes, but back to cats being psychopaths. Yeah, I think they are.
Well, okay. So what is it about cats that you think it seems to be psychopathic?
They seem a little like manipulative, and also like everything's on their terms. You know, it's like, no, you'll pet me now, or no, you don't touch me now. Like they're always. It seems like, and then you should be grateful. I don't know why cats like have this look like when they let you pet them. Like, you should be grateful that I'm over here letting you pet me.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, not kittens, but these older cats have this attitude, and it's just funny. And then I had a cat that would go nuts and just like run around the room in circles like a crazy person. Oh my God, I had to shut the door. I was so terrified of this cat when it did that I had to like, I ran out of the room and like shut the door because I'm like, this cat is nuts. What is that? Does anybody know about that?
Yeah, they all do that.
What is that thing?
I don't know what it's from, but it's like, when it's probably related to the hunting thing where they just like get this burst of energy and just start losing their minds. Running around. Dogs do that too sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I get it with Sigmund when he's like hasn't had enough exercise. He'll do that, but like, how the hell do you exercise? Like, I guess you can play with the cat. Maybe I didn't do that enough.
Yeah, cat's basic personality is just you're welcome. Like what you were saying about how you're supposed to be honored that they're letting you pet them.
Yeah, what's that about? And maybe that's I don't know. Do people who like cats kind of like that?
Well, I like
feel
cats
like they've won them over. You like cats a lot. I feel like you should. And you know what? I think you should get that hairless cat. That seems like your type of cat.
Lincoln saw a picture of a hairless cat, and he thought it was, I forget what animal, like a rat or something. And I was like, no, that's a cat. That's what they look like without their fur. And he was so disturbed. I mean, it is a weird thing, but there was an article in The Atlantic about why people think cats are psychopaths.
Yes.
And
tell me everything.
Well, it was the kind of making the argument that they're not, that it's like, well, they just don't have as many muscles in their face, so they can't like have as expressive emotions as dogs or obviously people. And so we just interpret their behavior as psychopathic when they're really just being cats. But it was not convincing. Because, like, have you ever been around a cat? I'm sure you have. They're, like, sitting on the counter, and they'll just, like, without breaking eye contact with you, just knock a pen off.
Oh, my gosh. That has totally happened to me. Where they, like, look at you and then push the glass of water off the table.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I mean, okay, if you want to say they're not psychopaths, but like basically they appear to not have a guilty conscience, whereas dogs for sure feel bad when they fuck up.
There's no cat equivalent to the tail between its legs.
See, that is the right way to put it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. So I like cats, but I also think they're psychos.
Interesting. You think maybe when we like gave them their own place to go to the bathroom, they were like, now I rule everything?
Right. I mean, it is very
because dogs, they don't have that. I'm trying to think, like, what are the differences?
But like, we have to actually pick up dog poop.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you
they'll
sort of
just
have to
shit
pick up
and
cat
stare
poo,
at
too.
you.
How come you can't train a dog to go in a litter box? Could you?
I bet you could. Maybe not a litter box, but maybe like an assigned spot.
Oh,
like
well, yeah, you could do that.
Pads
like
or whatever.
Oh, my God. I had one of those in apartments. Do not get those.
Why?
Oh, because that is a mess. Cleaning that up afterwards. We had that in our apartment. I even built one with real grass, with like a drainage system and everything. I was very proud of myself. But then you still got to rinse it out. And it's still, I felt really bad for the people who lived in the apartment below us when I would clean that out.
My God, that's gross.
I know. They were never home, so it was fine.
There was also an article, this was in the New York Times, and it was what made me read it was about dog DNA and how the writer had her dog's DNA tested, and they found out it wasn't the breed that they thought it was. But then it really was talking in the end about how none of us are really what we think we are. And it touched upon, for example, that book club book for February was Inheritance by Dani Shapiro. And it's about how she took one of those genealogy tests and found out her dad wasn't her real dad. And it was sort of exploring this idea of like, what makes someone something? Like, does that mean she's not Jewish? She thought she was Jewish through her dad as well as, you know, I guess her mom was too, but like she started to wonder, like, what does it mean to belong? And I think it's
That's
such
a hard thing.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about, like, who is your parent? Is it the sperm donor, or is it the person that raised you, or both, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it can feel especially so where I think it feels I don't know what the word is, shocking or jarring or kind of like throws you off, is when you have a fixed idea of what you think you are, and then that gets turned upside down or changes.
Yeah, if you become attached.
Have like a child. Yeah, when you have a child who maybe is adopted, and that narrative, that story is part of them growing up, and you know, they understand that maybe they have different biological parents, but, you know, these are their parents that love them, whatever it is, that could be not as difficult. But when you find out, like, all of a sudden, you know, like, who am I? Everything I thought I'm not, or something like that.
Yeah, it's like all these questions of identity.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, identity is, like, everything.
Yeah. But we, for some reason, and it was totally not coordinated, I keep choosing these books for book club that relate to this idea of parenthood and identity. And like, we had the book about the adoption, The Girls Who Went Away.
Yeah.
And that explored that idea too, and how you can be wrecked by having to put up your child for adoption and all this stuff. But it must be on my brain because I keep picking these books. And then when I saw that, even about dogs, because we had sort of laughed about the idea of getting dogs tested, but I can see why people like it.
Yeah. And, you know, my February book is about the same kind of stuff, too, about the woman who could not get pregnant. And so she's part of what are they called? Multiple wives. Polygamy.
Yeah, polygamy.
She's a part of a polygamy, you know, culture. And her whole identity switched and changed when she couldn't have kids, and then, you know, a new wife came around.
Well, speaking of pregnancy, we all know getting birth control is a huge hassle. Literally.
Not anymore, though.
Hers, thanks to hers, it's like so much easier. If you haven't tried it, this system, you don't have to go to the freaking doctor's office. But you can still get birth control. Why wasn't this a thing earlier?
Right. Well, because men don't need it.
Right. The patriarchy.
But that's another story.
But the time it takes to go to your gyno's office, all the hassle of, you know, receiving your new pack on time, blah, 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 all that stuff, hers basically eliminated that. So you go on, Sarah, you took the test, you have an online appointment basically, where you say what you want, and then they'll recommend what birth control would be good for you. And think about like how expensive it can be to even just go to the doctors. We keep getting bills for doctors. I'm like, okay, this is
God, right?
It's really expensive, and I just don't feel like birth control should be one of those things that depends on how much money you have. So if you want to get convenient, affordable access to birth control, this is such a great option. Everybody's different. So For Hers offers 10 well-known birth control options, and they'll connect you to a doctor online who will help you determine what is best for you. Just order now. Our listeners get their first month of birth control for from forhers.com for just $5 right now while supplies last and subject to doctor approval. See website for full details. Go to forhers.com/brain. That's FORHERS.com/brain. Restrictions apply. See website for full details. What a great thing, man.
Yes, it sure is. So
makes
easy.
me mad when I think about
super fast.
What you normally have to do to get something.
Yeah. Right. So fast.
Okay. Any hoodles.
I want to get your take on this story. I wonder if you heard about it. Did you hear about the high school teacher who gave the assignment to his students to get Katy Perry's attention?
No.
Okay, so I think he teaches junior high and high school. He teaches junior high and high school government in Anaheim Discovery Christian School in California. And so every year, I guess since he's been a teacher, he puts this assignment up on the board. He says, any student that can bring Katy Perry to this school and have her talk to me, you get an automatic A+ for my class. A video of her talking and saying my name gets you an automatic B+. And so this is something I guess he's done for a few years, and he thought it was an assignment that could, make him laugh, kind of connect to the kids, and there's no, it was a long shot. But then one of his students, this guy tweeted out to, Katy Perry, he was like, hey, internet, do your thing, make this go viral so that I can get an A in my class. And so it took off, and everybody started, talking about this, and this teacher got a lot of heat from it. And I wanted to see what your opinion of a teacher making this a challenge for his class was.
What was the intention? Just to be silly?
Yeah, I think that was his intention, but then, it says in this article, but then the tone changed. People were confused by the real intention of the assignment and did not find much humor in it. And he said, one person wrote, it might be wise to ditch the idea of a Katy visit and actually learn. And this guy was just, trying to have some fun, I guess. But then it kind of made me scratch my head, and I was like, this seems kind of weird.
What's your opinion about it?
Does he just have a fatty crush on Katy Perry?
Right.
It did seem kind of weird after I took a moment to think about it. But, he was like, I'm teaching him a lesson in social media and how, I don't know what. I guess you can spin it. But what do you think? Are you pro or are you con?
I hate when people get too worked up about stuff like this. Like, if it was just meant to be in good fun, then no harm done.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, what the intention could even have been, apart from just, it just seems like there should be a larger point.
Yeah,
is it about virality and showing kids, the power that you can have through the internet? That's cool. But if it's just
but I
this
almost
is
feel
fun.
like he said that afterwards. That wasn't maybe his initial feeling, and then afterwards, he said, his quote is, I believe this assignment can show them how powerful social media is, and I want them to see and learn that all it takes is something small that can become something huge.
Yeah.
And, so maybe.
Did Katy Perry make a video or something?
No, not that I've heard yet, but I'm trying to think, when is this article from? Because it was pretty recent. I think end of January or something like that. Oh, no, February. End of February.
Seems like, teachers are in a position where they always have to think of something that will capture their students' attention too. So I'm very sympathetic to that. The fact that their job is so hard to begin with, and the kids don't want to pay attention. So that helps then. Yes.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about this, I think there was also something in there that said, somebody else's comment was like, it's teaching kids the wrong lesson, that there's a shortcut, that if you just forget about the learning and instead just make connections with people in power, then you can get to the top versus actually putting in the hard work. And you know how else you can earn an A+? By studying and working hard and doing that, not finding the shortcut. So that was the argument against it.
I don't agree with that, because that's the reality of life, is that there are shortcuts for some people.
Snaps for that, Suze. Yes.
And it isn't always the long road that gets you where you want to go. And that may not be fair, but it is true. Even just the way that you look, if you're really attractive, that's a shortcut.
That's so true.
But it's not fair, but it is.
And then maybe this is like you're utilizing the resources you have. If you happen to be connected on social media, then take advantage, right?
It's kind of like Chris Rock's daughter selling Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, Suze. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Man, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I wasn't able to communicate my not outrage, but my feelings behind the Girl Scout cookies, like that, I don't know. Like I can't even put it into words of really like what I think. I don't know. I'm going to have to hear from some moms or from some former Girl Scouts and maybe
I bet you people
change my mind on this.
They'll get what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I wanted to read this paragraph that now I'm not finding, but if I don't find it, I'll give you the essence, which is, it was an article about Viagra.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
Where you often hear the complaint about how, a guy has a limp dick and we put in billions of dollars to like try to figure out how to fix it. Apparently they found out when they were doing the Viagra work that I forget what it cured, but I think it was some sort of medical problem that women have. And instead of continuing with the research, they were like, nah, we'll just make a dick pill.
Yeah.
And they stopped researching it, even though they were able to tell that, like, this could save women's lives. They were just like, nah.
What was it?
No, I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. It was just some women's health problem that the early research had shown that it would positively affect it. Damn it.
Is it like, I'm trying to think, there's one that starts with a D that's oh God, what is it called? It's essentially like when the muscles in the vagina contract so much at the and it's kind of connected to like mental health and thought, like your mind as well, where because a lot of stuff like this is, and it makes it so penetration is nearly impossible.
That's depressing.
Yeah, and so they do these. It's very common in religions where there's a lot of shame around sex, and there's a lot of pressure around, a woman's role in, like, conceiving and all this stuff. And so there's so much pressure and there's so much anxiety that it creates, like, muscle spasms that don't allow for penetration. And so there are therapists who work with what are called dilators to help the woman relax and all this stuff. And I can imagine that a medication that would relax those muscles is what they're talking about.
It says, when Viagra was tested initially as heart medication, its well-known properties for men were discovered. Hallelujah, said Big Pharma, and research ceased. However, in subsequent tests, the same drug was found to offer total relief for serious period pain over 4 hours. This didn't impress the male review panel, who refused further funding, remarking that cramps were not a public health priority.
What? Oh, I couldn't disagree so vehemently, because I guarantee you that work productivity and hours lost from people calling in sick because of that absolutely adds up.
Yeah.
Fuck off, dudes.
Sorry,
Linda.
Right? I just read that paragraph and was like, well, I got to share this with the brainiacs.
Crap. Well, and since that is something that I suffer from, I'm extra mad.
Yeah, of course.
I personally have lost hours at work over this.
Well, one way that you can avoid losing hours of work is by having your coffee or your lunch delivered via Postmates. And how great is this offer that we've been telling you guys about? I had Scott Yeager text me, and he goes, that Postmates deal, it's too good to be true, right? Like, there's a catch. And there is no catch. Basically, if you download the Postmates app or, use your Postmates account, they will give our listeners $100 of free delivery credit for your first 7 days. So you can start your free deliveries. You download the app right now and use code BRAINCANDY. That's code BRAINCANDY for $100 of free delivery credit for your first 7 days when you download the Postmates app. Get anything you need anytime you need it. Download Postmates and save with the code BRAINCANDY. So basically, if you order food for dinner or at work, like Sarah's work, they order coffee. You just use your app, and Postmates is giving you $100, and you can use it anytime, 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Everything you want, you can get it within an hour. How great is that?
Amazing.
We used it the other day for my donuts.
Oh, that's right, we did. Dang, that was so good.
We were at my house, and I had a migraine, and for some reason, when I have a migraine, I need sweet stuff, and I was like, I have to have donuts, and they came, and we ate them, and it was great. I had 3 donuts.
Me too. So
and
no
I regret
judgment here.
Nothing.
Thank you, Postmates.
Okay, so that paragraph is infuriating. Did you watch the Lorena Bobbitt documentary series?
No. Suze. But you know what I did watch? Abducted in Plain Sight.
And?
Holy crap.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Yes.
I thought you said it was too triggering.
Well, in the first time I watched it, I was just dealing with other stuff that day where, I couldn't even open that door.
Yeah.
But coming back in my older, wiser, now I'm 33 and I can handle it, mind.
Right.
Because now I'm grown.
Yeah.
It's so intense. And the part that was really, hit me really hard is that so that very last scene when they're in the courthouse, like, spoiler alert, and she's pressing charges against him, and she's, like, pointing at him and saying, like, you're the one who did this, and he sort of apologizes, but not really. Mm-hmm. It was the exact same phrasing, tone, everything that my dad would say to me. Mm. Exactly this. It gave me like chills because the way he would speak, the way he said it, the apology that's not really an apology for what he did, but more an apology for how you didn't see it as love.
I'm sorry, you're sad.
Yeah. And I was like, and then there's a pause like of like them thinking about how, and I'm like, oh my God, that could have been the exact same phrase that my dad said to me that's recorded on the real world.
Wow.
You can almost play, it's the same thing. And, dude, there's so much shit there.
Yeah, if you haven't
Everybody
watched it yet, it's a must-see. It's not that the way that it's made is, like, revolutionary. It's just that the story is so insane that it's hard to believe, but it's so important to see because it shows how systems are abused by people like this, predators, who realize that because they're in the church or because they have a certain type of job, then they are more worthy of trust, at least in the eyes of naive people like this family was. And holy shit, like what he did with the mom and the dad and all that.
Oh my God. And I still think the mom has feelings for him.
Ooh, right? She seemed like she
was all smiley when she talked about it, saying it was like the best time of her life.
Yeah, I think that it really shows how conflicted you can feel about something that to us seems just terrible. But it's more complicated than that.
And then do you remember in the movie when this guy who's the pedophile, they say that he goes and he finds a doctor in California to help him deal with all these feelings that he has for children. But I'm 100% convinced the doctor he went to is part of a pedophilia ring as well.
Really?
Because those tapes that he gave him.
Yeah.
So, like, he goes to this doctor, and the doctor says, oh, you know what you need? You need these tapes. So, like, we don't know what he's telling the doctor. We don't know. This doctor ended up losing his license and was disbarred or whatever you call it. Not disbarred, it's not the bar, but, had his license revoked to practice therapy or medicine or whatever it was. And they don't say why. They don't say what happened to this doctor. And the tone of those tapes that he gave him. So this doctor gives him these tapes that are audio tapes of talking about having a little girl laying next to you in bed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's meant to like desensitize him, but really it's just arousing him. And I feel like that doctor was in on it too.
Wow.
And there needs to be some exploration of that. Like, I was left with so many, like, weird feelings after that. Ooh, God, it was good. And also terrible at the same time. So, good recommendation.
Yeah, everyone should see it.
Yeah.
But I also, like I said, I'm watching the Lorena Bobbitt series.
Oh, my God, yes. I totally derailed your train there. Sorry.
No. I wanted to talk about both. But, like, Jordan Peele produced it. That's what made me really curious about it, because I really like him. And, you know, the Lorena Bobbitt story from the 90s was a huge deal. But it was also just a joke. You know, Lorena cut off her husband's penis. What kind of a crazy woman would do this? And so it really dove into all those stereotypes about she was a Latina woman and he was this good-looking guy, and what's wrong with this fiery Latina? Like, that's what they were writing in these articles in, like, major newspapers. And she was saying, like, he raped me over and over again. He abused me. Nobody really took that into consideration, and it just became this dick joke.
And didn't you say that both she and him were interviewed for this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both in it. And the craziest bit is at the end when they show that he still writes her love letters.
That's so weird.
Right? But they also had footage from, like, talk shows when he would go on back in the day. And his brothers would talk about, like, basically the idea that having your dick cut off was worse than being killed. Like, it's like toxic masculinity in its purest form.
Well, that's like the whole thing. It's like I mean, I feel like that's so Freudian. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a bit slow, but it's good because
I'll have to check
turns
it out.
This story that we all know on its head, which is what I love about all these, like the Michael Jackson documentary, even the Ted Bundy tapes.
Too.
They're all taking stories we already know, but they're repackaging them in a way that people start talking about them again. Even R. Kelly. I mean, that didn't tell us really anything new, but everything changed after it came out because people saw it in a new light, which is so important.
So do you think that these, I always wonder if documentaries and these kind of stories are gaining in popularity as well, or if it's just as I get older, this is what I'm interested in watching.
No, they are. They're
right?
Becoming more popular.
That makes me feel really excited that now, like, I remember being a kid and my mom would make me watch Michael Moore documentaries. Yeah. And I used to always be like, oh, I don't want to watch a documentary. Why do I have to watch this? And now it's all I want to watch. And I wonder if, like, I feel like the youth of today would be interested in documentaries.
Well, if you think about it, people now have grown up with reality TV.
Oh, so true.
They're used to seeing things that are unscripted or at least presented as real. And so they have the appetite for it. And then I think there's an intersection where that preference is met with this true crime explosion.
Yes.
And that's really made it grow.
Yeah.
Too.
And now that there's like footage of everything now, I feel like that Fire Festival one couldn't have happened if we didn't videotape everything, Well,
and some of my favorite documentaries are the ones where, for whatever reason, somebody was filming it back, like the Capturing the Friedmans. They had so many home movies at a time when most people really didn't. Mm-hmm. And so you have that, primary document in the form of videotape that's like, oh, you can actually watch it. That changes everything.
That changes everything.
It does. And that makes such a great film. And it, like, there was a film about Alexandria or Ocasio-Cortez that premiered at Sundance this year. But they started filming that before anyone knew who she was. She was an underdog, never going to win candidate running who happened to win and become this underdog story. So they had the footage, but there was no way they knew that they were going to have that story when they started. So it kind of is a bit of luck, too.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Well, and like, what was the one about the cult in Oregon?
Yes.
I forget what it was called. Wild Wild Country.
Yes.
And they found all the archival footage in the library.
Wow.
See, again, I love libraries.
And narcissists are going to be the kind of people who record everything, like Jim Jones and all that. So it happens to be perfect that these people want to I mean, they're their own worst enemies, really.
Yeah.
And we all benefit. Well, after they,
Well, another way we benefit
everything.
is that we can now buy comfy work clothes from Beta Brand. They have their dress pant
yoga pants.
They have dress pant yoga pants.
Woo!
And they are ultra comfy styles, but they're designed to impress and be appropriate at work and look chic and stylish, but you feel like you're kind of wearing your jammies.
Mm-hmm.
They have all different cuts and styles and sizes. They have the standard colors, and then they do like seasonal and limited edition colors as well. And you can get different lengths. They have functional pockets. I wear them to meetings and anytime I need to look presentable, but I don't want to be uncomfortable all day. And that's why they're perfect for work and why I started wearing Beta Brand dress pant yoga pants. Visit betabrand.com/braincandy, all lowercase, to get 20% off your pair. Millions of women agree these are the most comfortable pants you'll ever wear to work. That's betabrand.com, betabrand.com/braincandy, all lowercase, to get 20% off your dress pant yoga pants, which Sarah loves saying.
It's everything I could do to Google that right now and go to the website.
You need some?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Because for work, I feel like I need to be comfortable sometimes. I'm doing a lot of these, play therapy kind of stuff, and you can't be wearing uncomfortable pants when you're sitting on the floor.
No. Yeah, you need to just go ahead and get your 20% off.
Yes.
All right. What about how there was this article in, I think, the New York Times, New York Magazine, and it was about how America's professional elite are wealthy, successful, and miserable. Did you see this?
No, but I believe it.
Yeah. And it was this guy that they interviewed makes about $1.2 million a year. Great job. But really hates his life, essentially. And it got a lot of pushback from people who are like, oh, wow, you have all this money. And like, why are we even talking about this? But I want to know what you think about this phenomenon.
Well, I think there was that documentary called Happiness that came out a while ago now. And I believe that they break down, kind of talk about this law of diminishing returns on how much money you make. And how the real thing that's important to all of us is time. Yeah. And if you're sacrificing money, your time to make money, then it will lead to unhappiness. Mm-hmm. But I was watching the show Scandal the other night. Mm-hmm. So good, by the way. I just started that. Holy crap, that's a good show. And there was a line from there, and I can't remember it verbatim, but it was something along the lines of like, some people are destined to be happy and other people are destined for greatness.
Oh.
And almost saying like those two couldn't be the same. Of like, if you needed, like, you're either going to change the world or you're going to be happy.
Wow, that is crappy. I don't believe it.
Right. And it's
I bet you that's
true
in a lot of ways. It's like not all jobs, but.
And they were like talking about, the president and how, I think it was the president, and how like he had to sacrifice his life for the greater good, and it led to unhappiness. And
well, I read an article about Steve Jobs, and people herald him as this incredible visionary and just obviously very successful, but by most accounts wasn't very good dad, wasn't very present.
Right.
And he talked about how he acknowledged it and just said, we all have the same 24 hours a day. It's the great equalizer. Mm-hmm. And there's just not enough time for everything. And so you make choices. And if you're super successful, you're probably not going to be the best parent in the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, yeah.
But this conversation sort of overlapped with this article in The Atlantic, which was arguing that as Americans have become less religious, that they've expected to get far more meaning out of their work life. And this article was arguing that's not realistic, and you're always going to be miserable if you expect the same transcendence and meaning to be coming from where you get your paycheck.
Dude,
right?
That's important to think about.
Mm-hmm. Like our expectations.
Yes. Well, and don't you feel like we've put such value on work and not like this is that, what do they call individualist culture versus collective culture thing?
Yeah.
Where this idea of individualism and, you know, you got to be the best and achieve. And it's at, you know, the expense of relationships and all this. And then that message is just drilled into our heads with the TV shows we watch and all this stuff. I was even watching The Real Housewives last night. And one of the women on there was like, if you're going to do it, like she was talking about a trip to wherever they went, the Bahamas or whatever, and, you know, having a butler service and all this. And she's like, if you're going to do it right. And I was like, what a friggin' privileged thing to say. I mean, like, get out of here that the only way to enjoy a vacation is if you have butler service and you're like on some private island somewhere. And like, you know, it just seems like that message that they're sending, if you're a viewer and you're living in, you know, some like small town and where the, you know, median income is so much lower than Beverly Hills. Yeah. And you watch that, it plants this idea in your head that you can't be happy unless, and no vacation is good unless it looks like this. And so then it made my mind start going to other places where like, if you have it in your head that if you have to do it like the best, and you blow all your money on that trip rather than like investing in the future, like it's short-term happiness versus long-term security. And I feel like that message is what's been driven home in today's culture and so backwards. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like we really need to ask ourselves collectively, what is success? You know?
Yes.
If every message is saying success looks like this and it's pretty pictures on Instagram and it's money, then what is being left behind? And that's usually community and neighbors and, you know, peace.
Yes.
And so I think we all need to ask, what does success look like for me? And am I working on the path that will create that or not?
It's so strange, you know, and to like kind of connect everything. You know, we spent so much, time on this show talking about documentary films and how it's like expanding our minds and showing us these different ways of being and ways of living. So I feel like there's like two parts of us as people and as like a cult, like society here, where on one hand we like are caring about these real human stories and things that are about the human condition. And then on the other hand, we are this consumer culture that's like capitalistic and like all about, you know, squashing the little guy to get to the top. And it's almost like they don't match. And maybe because we are putting so much emphasis on one, we almost have to have the other to kind of create some balance in our lives. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, like when they give with one hand and take with the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And even, you know, we've seen the wellness industry. I mean, it's an industry of people who want to be mindful and be caring about the things that truly matter. But it's hard when it's in wrapped up with consumerism and all of that. But it's just sort of our job as humans to sift through that and find what works for us. And I'm not good at it. Like I was telling Sarah the other day, I'm like a Labrador and I will work until I die unless someone tells me to stop. And so I need to develop strategies where I have better lines between work and downtime and parenting and all that stuff. It's hard.
Have I told the wood chopper story on here yet?
Wood shop?
The wood chopper story?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody just needs to remember that. How do you sharpen your axe?
Yeah.
You got to take some time to sharpen your axe.
That's
how you really win.
It made sense to me, though, when I put it together with the decline in religiosity, because I am amongst the people who would consider oneself spiritual but not religious. But what that can mean is that it's such a vague idea of meaning that, ritual, as you talk about, it can be important. It's an important way to mark, like this is the day of rest or whatever.
Suze, my mind is like blown here. This is really deep.
It is.
That connection. You are so right. We had markers in our day, I mean, you can even say that with prayer.
Yes.
You pray in the morning, you pray in the evening, even if you pray multiple times a day. Before your meal.
Yeah.
Essentially, praying before your meal is like mindful eating.
Yes.
Dude.
Right?
We have to start doing those things. That's like the nuance of like the stories and the everything and like religion and what the takeaway is and all those little, like it's not a literal.
Yeah, it's like, why was this put there in the first place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. What was the intention behind doing this? It's not just like without meaning.
Yeah.
And if you look for why people, what would, and now it's like science is backing those things up. So we need to find the place where all those ideas kind of overlap and like the thread.
Well, I like to think about it in terms of, let's think about, the Christian iconography of the cross. The reason why that's such a powerful thing, apart from the symbol of the death and resurrection that Christians believe in, is that intersection of the physical cross represents the horizontal plane of this earth with the vertical plane of the spiritual world. And if we can find a way to create that in our lives, well, that's the secret.
I have chills everywhere. That is so beautiful. I mean, that's like everything.
That's why I don't consider myself a believer in the traditional sense, but I love cross jewelry and stuff, and that's part of the reason. Is because
I do too.
Yeah, don't just remember we're on this earth, but let's make it transcend towards the bigger picture.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah,
and that's essentially the goal of meditation.
Yes,
of connecting the physical world with the spiritual one, and you're in that place of like,
well, and every message all day is like, just buy more stuff, you'll be happier. Keep working, you'll be happier. Let's think about that a little bit more.
Again, it's that temporary like satisfaction versus long term, and I say this to, like I've said this on here, I say it to friends, I say it to clients. What is the thing that you're most proud of? What is the thing that has brought you the most joy in your whole life? Nobody ever says buying that car,
right? The promotion.
They never say, I've never had one person I've ever spoken to, worked with, anything who has not said something that was about either their identity or relationships.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing to focus on.
And for me, it's not even about mastery. It's about just on a daily basis. And you reminded me of this the other day when you were like, stop comparing yourself to this hypothetical future person that you want to be, and compare yourself to where you were yesterday. Can you improve a little bit? And I think that's a really healthy way to look at it.
You make my heart just like swell when you say that, because that really is like it makes me feel so good that, sometimes I feel like I don't want to come off as preachy, but I feel like I can see that in you, and I see yourself like comparing like, oh, I could be this, I could be that, could be da-da-da. No, just compare yourself to yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of people who are like, oh my God, I'm trying to eat better, and yesterday, like, I didn't eat very well. Well, okay, great. You didn't eat well yesterday, so do it better today.
Yeah.
Fine.
It sounds so small, but it's such a good thing to keep in mind. And it's been helpful to me because it's like, we can really get caught up on like the potential of what we would like to be. Mm-hmm. And there's incongruity between that and what we are. So we always feel like we're not enough.
Yeah, but you are enough. Everybody is enough.
Yeah. So there you go. Bet you didn't know we were going to do some self-help today.
Bet you didn't. Oh, that was fun. I feel inspired, and I feel like I need to go like bust out my cross necklace. But I have it on a chain that has a. I even know like I like went through this period where I just loved like religious iconography and like necklaces and that kind of stuff, or like like what do you call it? Like symbols.
Yeah.
So I have what are the wheels? Like the Buddhist wheel and the Jewish star, the Star of David, and a cross, all on the same necklace.
That's so funny because I do too.
Oh my God, Suze! I probably got the idea from you.
That's so cool. I love that. I hope more people do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Represent them all.
And don't forget to, like, leave us a 5-star review because whether we like it or not, life on this earth requires validation in that form.
And we love it.
Yeah.
Validate me, validate me, validate me.
All right. You're off the hook, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.